This video is brought to you by CampfireShop.com. Support my research and productions by buying exclusive candles, teas, herbal supplements, and more at CampfireShop.com. Welcome along, fellow time travelers. This time around, you're going to listen to an excerpt from my interview with Elliot Mintz, where he talks about how he first met John and Yoko.
I listened to a DJ, or as a personality on the radio. Record companies, especially in those days, would send you a stack of records each week to listen to see if they could convince you to give them the music airplay. And there were hundreds of records that were sent to me every month. And I diligently put the tone arm down on the first track and listened for a minute or so. Most of them were not particularly memorable albums, and I put aside. There was one that just caught my interest, a record called Fly by Yoko Ono. I had heard of her, of course, through the John and Yoko experience, but I never paid much attention to her solo work. And I listened to track 1, which led me to track 2. I listened to the entire album, and there was something that came through. It was what I call an original work. It didn't seem to be predicated upon anything that I had heard before. I was fascinated not only by the music, but the artist. So I called the record company and said, hi, to the PR lady, what's the chances of doing an interview with Yoko? And at the time, the chances were very good. Most DJs were not all that interested in that subject. She put me in touch with an assistant at the Dakota. I introduced myself, said I'd love to do the interview, I love the record. He said, I'll get back to you. He got back to me the next day and said, when do you want to do the interview? I said, as soon as Yoko is available. And he said, how about Sunday? A couple of days later. And boom, I was on the air live. Yoko was in New York. And we conducted that first interview. It ran probably a little under an hour. And again, she was a wholly original thinker, at least to me, that in all the interviews I had done up to that time, I had never heard anybody quite like her, with her perceptions and her perspectives. And I liked her instantly. And went home that night thinking that that one worked. You've interviewed people, Scott, and you know when something is clicking and when you're just kind of walking through the field awry. I knew that this one had meaning. I went to sleep. The day passed. I'm an insomniac, so it's hard to keep up with when the night becomes the day. And the phone rings at my house on my private line, my personal phone, not the business phone in the house. And it was Yoko. I was surprised. She called and she said, I just wanted to call you to tell you how much I enjoyed talking with you last night. You asked questions that hadn't been asked of me before. And you didn't want me to talk about the Beatles or John. You seemed genuinely interested in my work. And it was very nice of you to do that. I wanted to tell you. Well, I was blown away. And I thanked her for calling me, hung up the phone, and I reflected upon it. In all the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of interviews I had done up to that time, nobody ever called to thank me. In fact, when people go on these media tours to talk with endless numbers of people, they do a drop-by, they do the interview, they don't even remember the name of the person who interviewed them. They're just on to the next one. This was a thank you from her. And I was just so moved by it that I picked up the phone and called her and said, look, I don't mean to intrude upon your privacy or anything, but I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to thank me That led to probably a 2.5-hour phone conversation where we were exploring each other's worlds and thought processes. And so it began. Yoko might have called me the very next day. I would call her back. And we spoke every day for weeks. And one day I was talking to her about books that she was reading. She said that she liked reading mysteries, which I thought was unusual. And she asked what I was reading. And I had mentioned a book that I was reading at the time by a philosopher named J. Krishnamurti. Yoko mentioned the name of the book. And I said, yes, that's it. Do you read it? Did you read it? And she said, no, I don't read those kind of books. But John's reading that right now. You should talk to him about it.
Wow.
And I said, well, I'd welcome that. And she said, it's his birthday in 2 days. Maybe you should talk to him on the radio about, his birthday and Krishnamurti. And I said, how do I do that? And the assistant called, and he set it up, and boom, it was John on the telephone. And we did, an hour interview. And I tried to, ask the obvious questions and the not so obvious questions. He seemed to like it as well. We definitely had a rapport. For those people who listen to the interview, and it's online, I think you could tell that there was a closeness beyond radio host and guest, which led to an ongoing series of conversations with John. And then it became much of my world, where I would talk with John and Yoko every night for weeks and weeks and weeks. Sometimes Yoko, who got up before John, he likes sleeping, would talk with me for an hour or two, and then she put the phone on hold. She said she had to go off to do business stuff. But John was just waking up, and he wanted to talk to me. So I'd get off the phone with Yoko, try to get a cup of tea in me, and be talking to John. The longest conversation I ever had with both of them at one time ran 6 hours, most of my day. And when I finished, I put together a set list for the program for the evening. I tried to figure out who would be in town and how to reach them to do an interview, drive to the station, catch a bite to eat when I got home at 1 or 2 in the morning, maybe smoke a doobie, close my eyes, and it wouldn't be long, a few hours, before the phone rang again. And it was them. It went on that way until I physically met them in a little place called Ojai, a town not far from Los Angeles.
So, what did you think of that excerpt of my interview with Elliot Mintz? Kindly share your thoughts in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos like this. You can support my productions through the links below and visit campfireshop.com for exclusive candles, teas, herbal supplements, and more. Join my channel or Patreon for exclusive walk-in tours, and leave a super thanks in the comments below. Kindly be kind to all living things and adopt your pets from your local shelter. They'll be grateful, and so will you. Until next time, I wish you safe travels on all your journeys.